What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Lost Records Journal. This is the pre-introduction for the interview. Obviously, I'm Adnan. Adam's here. Adam, you here?
I'm here, dude. It's almost flannel season, but it's flannel season every day of the week.
It is flannel season, and obviously, it is Michel Koch and also Luc Baghadoust season as well. So, obviously, this is the first part of our almost 2 hour long podcast. I think it's just a little bit shy of that, but it's almost 2 hours long. We didn't expect to have as much time as we did with them, but obviously, amazing that they did give us as much time as they did. And we ultimately decided to split into a side A and a side B part. Afterwards, I will upload the full thing, but at the moment, if I don't split it side A, side B, you're getting
Mhm.
that interview in 2026. So it's just
Yeah,
more effective for managing this. So we're going to split into two parts. They both
we're
come to
getting
podcast.
this
So
all before GTA 5, by the way.
I know it's crazy. Isn't it?
Yeah.
GTA 5. We've already have GTA 5, Adam.
Whatever, the 6th, the 7th, whatever number we're on. San Andreas.
Yes. So anyway, we are going to split this into two parts. So obviously, this is just a pre-introduction. If there's something you don't see in this side, bear with us. There's another part coming. And just for an FYI as well, there are things that Michel and Luc can't obviously talk about, which we obviously deeply respected. So just be an FYI for that in case you do wonder some things that aren't asked. But either way, I hope you enjoy it. This was a dream opportunity for us. Enjoy the first part of Side A, episode 39 with Michel Koch and Luc Baghadoust. Here you go. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Lost Records Journal, Player One Visible's Lost Records Focus podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan Riaz. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you're somewhere on the video.
I am here, but Adnan, I'm going to hijack this podcast. I'm sorry to tell you. So before we talk to our guests right now, we have searched long and ways away for the canonical ways of saying their last names. We went through interviews. Me and you have had arguments. One interview has called them Kolch, but we need to know as they introduce themselves, what is the canonical way of saying their last names as they introduce themselves. So we have now Michel, and what's the canonical way of saying your last name?
Hi, and thanks for having us. So the canonical way is Michel Koch. So
Got
it's
it.
from Germany.
Yes. Okay, so I was right on that one. And then we also have
It's gonna be hard. Yes, we have. So my name. There's two way. There's two good answers. So I come from France, and my name is you will say Baghadoust,
Baghadoust. Okay.
but my father's come from Iran, and the right way to pronounce it will be a little bit different. The GH make a H sound, and the second A is a different A, so it's Baghadoust. But we say Baghadoust, and usually people just say Luc because Baghadoust is too complex. So
Yes. Like sometimes I'll spell out. I'm like, it's H-A-G. Like I completely understand because my last name Evalt, the Hungarian way is E-W-A-L-D, and it's pronounced Evalt in Hungarian. So when we move to America, it's like, we're gonna spell the American way. You're gonna have to deal with that. Like, yeah, all right. But yes, we have Michel Koch, which I got it right. Adnan is always wrong, and Luc Baghadoust.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite cool.
that's
I
nice.
like the way Adnan was pronouncing it, like bag dust. Like it sounds like a bag of dust, and I like the idea.
Bag dust.
Yeah,
We were going to call you a
yeah.
nickname, but
There
just
is
Luke
other
Bag.
ways.
Luc Bag.
I
It's fine.
remember, but maybe it's mean, but I remember a funny way to say your name that was used by someone at Square Enix.
Oh,
Yeah, you mean yeah? They say like the opposite, like what we were thinking. Say like douchebag, like bagadouche, bag douche,
Bag
douchebag.
douche.
Yeah,
God.
it was a nice way.
Yeah.
Someone
It's,
very
it's,
higher up in at Square Enix. Yes.
it's
Won't
nowhere
say
near
his
as,
name.
as a Marsha Lopez situation, but we'll leave that for another time. That's in the past
Yes.
now. But yes, thank you guys for coming. Obviously, we are absolutely honored to have you both on here. So obviously, for the uninitiated, Luc Baghadoust is here, who is Life is Strange's producer, Life is Strange 2, Captain Spirit, worked as associate producer on Remember Me, now studio executive producer at Don't Nod Montreal. And obviously, Michel is here as well, who is the Lost Records Will and Rage director, Life is Strange 1 and 2 co-creator, Captain Spirit co-creator, art director, and Remember Me. So many accolades there. we'll come on to a lot of things further down the line, because I've got a lot of questions to ask you. Adam's got a lot of questions to ask you, and our Patreon users have some questions to ask you. But before we start as well, if you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. You can access the Lost Records Journal via the podcast services on YouTube or on all our other ones as well, including Spotify with a video version. Please go and check us out there. We've got over 180 followers. We've got 39 ratings, so please do rate us, and it helps boost our visibility to other people. And we get wonderful interviews, just as we do here with these two really wonderful people. So obviously, first, guys, congratulations on Lost Records Women Rage's launch. Obviously, we followed the inception of Don't Nod Montreal. You guys moved from France to Canada. That's an incredible achievement itself, setting the studio up a new ambitious IP, getting out there. It's captured a lot of people's imagination. But obviously, I've got a lot of deep dive questions I want to go through. And this one's firstly directed at Michel. So obviously, Michel, I followed your work for many, many years, all the way back from Life is Strange when I was doing my reviews, and then bumped into Luc one day and he retweeted. And I was like, who are you? And I was like, you're the producer, and we'll become friends, and I'll annoy you for the next 10 years when I can. But obviously, you have a long resume of work. And the first thing that really stood out for me, because obviously you are studio creative director at Don't Nod Montreal, but then also the thing that really stood out for me was that this is your first outing as a solo director, because I always used to see those interviews with Raoul Barbet, the co-director. I kind of want to know what it was like becoming a solo director for this game. What were the challenges like? And then what was it like not seeing Raoul Barbet there next to your side? Because obviously you see Luc, and we all love Luc, but then there's no other co-director. And I feel like the two of you were together. So how was that experience being a solo director for the first time?
Hey, thanks for the question. And I think that was a bit daunting at first, because, there is something that's really cool when you're co-directing is that you don't have to be the one making decisions for everything. You can rest on some topics with the other person. So we did that a lot with Raoul. Like, we were arguing, I would say, a lot to get aligned together, but in a good way. And then it was easy to either, okay, I have something else to do today. That's your job to make this done. And this opposite was true. Being a solo director, I would say, is harder on that, because there is, and of course, it's really cool to work with Luc, and we have also directors, like art directors, people working with us, which are great to, working a lot with Sam Bradley, our art director on Lost Record, and a lot of people are great to really have them, trust them to push for some topics, but still, it's a lot more pressure, I would say, on myself to look at everything and push for things to go into the direction we want. So it was a bit harder for that. It's also challenging and also rewarding in a way, because there is a lot of things that tends to be your own battles in a way to fight and to try to get done. So both rewarding, challenging, but also more daunting and a bit more tiring.
Yeah, no, it does sound like amazing. And Adam, if you got something to say?
Yeah, no, I was even gonna say, like, I can tell, like once you're in that role, when you had somebody to put your back against, now you are in the full front. I can imagine there's just a lot of stresses, and I imagine there's also a lot of, I don't want to say freedoms in like a good sense, right? But it's almost like having a co-manager, but now you are the manager. There's some pressures, and now there's also like, oh, well, like, I don't want to step in the bounds of egotism. Like, do you ever struggle with that? Like almost like an imposter syndrome. Like, how do I not look so egotistical in my decisions?
Yeah, totally. It's a good way to put it, because when you're two-person, it's when you're directing a project, a game, a movie, whatever, I would say, at least for me, you're never sure of anything. There is instincts and ideas and things that, I really strongly feel like this is what will be best for the project. But you're never 100% sure. So when you're two and the two-person aligned in a vision, at a point you say, okay, it might be right, because both of us are thinking the same thing. So let's do it. That's twice less chance to be wrong, basically.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, it's interesting, because from my seat, we're looking at you working for the first time as a solo director. I remember your collaboration with Raoul, all the sparks, from your interaction, the creativity. It was really bringing a lot of cool stuff. And Raoul is a force of nature as well. Like, a lot of stuff were going on. And I was curious about some topics, with Michel solo, because they had their specialties. Michel was working, for example, more on the narrative side, the video, the dialogues, and Raoul had a bigger impact, maybe a very big impact on the cinematics and, the music part. So I was curious about how it would go for Michel solo, but I think for the music part and both the cinematics, it didn't feel like it was a struggle for you, Michel. Maybe you had it and it was more pressure, but the result was great, and I think it was easier for you having maybe the experience of the previous project to feel these gaps.
Yeah, I think it's really more about than like I was saying, like being sure of where you want to push the team and to push people, and not like you were saying, not starting to be like a tyrant or like, oh, this needs to be this way, this way, this way, which we can easily get into this trap because there is a lot of things that you want to micromanage or that I would want to be, I would say perfect, but perfect is very subjective. So it's a tough question, a tough balance of deciding also where it is worth to push and bother the team to get something really aligned with what I have in mind, and where I should say, okay, I can slightly laid back on this one, and this version, which might not be the one I had 100% in mind, will be great also.
I have a follow-up question because Luc, you were saying like from your seat, like you were observing in this way. As I ask this question, let me just grab a prop real quick. So,
of course.
both of you are appearing on the credits of
Yes.
Remember Me. This came out in am I right, 2013? 2013.
Yeah, like 2 weeks
long
before
time
The
ago.
Last of Us.
So
It was
Yeah.
not the best timing. Yeah.
that the question I want to ask, in all these years, you have been coworkers for this long, from each of you, from your outside perspective. So, Luc, how have you seen Michel grow as a person and as a person in this profession? And Michel, vice versa, have you seen Luc grow as a person and a person in this profession?
So yeah, it was interesting. I remember my first interaction with Michel. He was working with Don't Nod before I joined, and I joined as a QA lead, in charge of the quality assurance. And there was a big room for production. We had one single producer, Nicolas Simon, and I helped him a lot, from previous experience I had with publishers. And I remember calling Michel, who was working for Don't Nod for a few months before I joined, and you were working as an external concept artist. I remember my first call with you. It was quite great. Like, you seemed like a great guy to collaborate. I hadn't met you in person, but it was interesting. You were doing like concept art for the game. And what I seen after that was, Michel working as a co-art director with Alexis. So Alexis, one of the founders of Don't Nod, is an exceptional artist, and he was great, for this, like, a lot of, I would say, early work, but in the heat of the production, when you have to interact with all departments, the VFX, the lighting, everything, and really to build a game. I saw Michel taking more and more place, and I remember going into Oscar office at the I told you, Michel, but you won't like the fact I say that, but I remember like going in Oscar office after seeing some of Michel works on Remember Me, and I said, okay, like, he's our MVP. That's the most important person at the studio. Like, basically, I feel like it was really there was something special, not just because great work qualities, but there was something special I noticed. And after that, we had so many ups and downs, adventures on all these projects all these years. But it was, to me, there's a feeling almost as if I'm part of like a band, like he's Paul McCartney or something like that. I'm or John Lennon, and I'm between a manager, someone who have to make sure his work can shine, and also part of the band. Like I say often, like joking, I'm like the bassist, in the band I had. Like, no one's sure about what I'm playing. No one can listen exactly to what I'm doing, but if I'm not there, it doesn't sound the same. It's a bit the same here. Like, the production work is not something that you really see, but I feel like my goal is for us to make great games, and I think Michel, is capable of doing great stuff. So that's why it's been exciting for me all these years to just follow him, in everything we do.
I think you're forgetting one very important thing, that I grow a beard and I lost my hair during all those times. So this, I think, is a major change.
Whilst you're joking as well, I also tell Adam to embrace the look, but he puts the hat on, and I'm like, why, Adam? Like, embrace the look.
I'm going to say, so Adnan,
it looks good
as a bald man with beard, ginger beard. So
yeah. But the hat looks cool also. So
yeah, I know. I have the weird Bruce Willis cut, so like I keep the hat on. But yes, Adnan is always out of place with hair, and I like to make fun of him for that for once. But yes,
But yeah, thanks, Luc, for those words. That's very, very kind. And yeah, I think it's been great to be working alongside you for all those years. And I mean, we've grown, I would say, a lot since that. And I remember working on Remember Me when you were as QA, which was already cool. And then starting you having a producer. And when you joined us as a producer on Life is Strange was really cool because we were at the very, very early stage of Life is Strange. You were working on another project. You were not working with us on Life is Strange. And at a point, I think you saw the game and you asked Nicolas Simon that you wanted to work on this game as a producer. And yeah, that's when you started to look at the planning and everything that was done and how you corrected that. That, oh yeah, we need to make that different so we can ship this game. And the thing that I've seen and I've loved working with you on those projects, which might sometimes be the hard part on producing, is that you really care about the games. And as we work on the game, each game, you care about them, I would say even more, which means that even if our job is to be not in conflict, but we have to, not to fight, but just to, my goal is to push the quality of the game, and Luc is to push for the game to be released in time, on budget, and making the production smooth. But he's not only doing just that, he's also wanting to really release a good game, because we know with the industry and everything that if we don't release a good game, even if it's on time, on budget, there might not be another next game. And I think that what I feel like it's great because we can work on that. And I try to work also on the thinking of production sometimes to make sure that we don't, of course, overdo things, even if we still do sometimes, but that we can create something that we manage to ship, but that will also meet, hopefully, expectations and where we can continue to work on creating nice projects. And I've seen you continue to evolve into that position and also not get into the, I wouldn't say easy way, but into the easy way of just saying, no, we won't do that. And so I think it might be really tough on you to work on what is the difference between how do we make this game, but how do you make a good game? But you're doing a great job at that.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate. Yeah, that's the thing. I think like when you don't care about what the game is you release, yeah, it makes a producer job easier because you just have to say no and just make sure the budget is right. But if it's on time and budget, but nobody likes it, yeah, like you say, Michel, you're doomed. And what you were saying about asking to work on Life is Strange, I can quickly, we spend a lot of time on these questions. Apologies about that.
No, it's
We have
all
a ton of questions, but it's, so Don't Nod was in a difficult stage, before Life is Strange was signed with Square Enix. And I was working on a bigger project at Don't Nod, and Michel was working on this small project. And he was splitting his time as a art director for both projects. And he was spending a few days a week on what would become Life is Strange, and I was working on this other project, and I had no idea what was happening on his side. He had been working with a few months on this project, and at some point he was annoyed to come back, to work on the project I was working, and like he wanted to spend. Of course, something was happening, something great was happening on the other side, and him and Raoul like brought me in a meeting room and wanted to show me the game, and I played, this what was the vertical slice at the time, the scene where you have Max and Chloe in the room and they jumping on the bed. And even if it was not, the final art, not the love scenes were not final, I remember smiling while playing, the thing like, okay, shit, that's something is happening. I have a direct emotion while playing this game. And Don't Nod was trying to sell both games. Nobody was interested by the bigger game, and Square Enix was interested by Life is Strange. And the timing was so hard that we were in almost, the studio might have closed, at this time if the contract hadn't been signed at the right time. And I was looking for other job. I had an opportunity at another studio in Vancouver. I got the job, and Nicolas Simon, the producer at the time, told me, okay, don't leave the Don't Nod. Like you have to choose. Like we're gonna sign Life is Strange. You can choose which project you want to work on. This other project become, Vampire or Life is Strange. And I say, of course, yeah, Life is Strange. Of course, I want. And I've been. I remember first discussion with Michel, like already thinking about, looking at the budget, the timeline, and I remember one of the first discussion, Michel. I don't know if we talk about this since, but looking at the VO budget. I was thinking, okay, like VO is going to be one of the most important thing, like for this game, we have to put more budget. And you say, yeah, absolutely, we need to. And it feels to me like the first sparkle of we collaborate together and we want to, put what's important, in the at the front end. think to me it was the first sign of okay, it's gonna be a great adventure.
Yes.
It sounds like it, and also as well, your situation not going to Vancouver is almost what if style. It's very apt for Life is Strange and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yes.
So, well, Luke, I'm going to drag you into this as well because obviously I know Lost Records will come into this, but I want to kind of bring in a specific thing here because one of the things I found really interesting was that one of your colleagues in France, Dimitri Vidal, spoke to the Guardian at Summer Games Fest. Obviously, he's working on a Fellion at the minute. He's the executive producer on that, and they even said to him, "What defines a Don't Nod game?" And in the piece as well, they talk about the different games of Don't Nod that are there: Lost Records, a Fellion. All the different strands of it. And obviously, Don't Nod does have a structured DNA. They have been very clear about that. But I'm going to ask you this because I know Michel's too nice to admit this or even talk about it. But I know you have a wonderful, wonderful catalog of developers there. And you said that Michel was like an MVP when you were working with Remember Me.
Yeah.
When you think about Don't Nod Montreal's DNA, how does that fit into the compass of Don't Nod's DNA? And then also as well, do you see Michel as part of that in terms of being a video game auteur? Because, for example, me and Adam always say that for our line of work, we could probably close our eyes and know what a Michel game looks like because there's so many different qualities that stand out from different influences. Do you feel that way in terms of that you could see that he is someone that is in the industry as like an auteur? I know some people don't like that label, but I think it's very apt for the style that he brings to his games.
So I'm gonna start to the last part first.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he's an author. That's why impressed me and why I want to work with him. And it's totally the case. It's the case in a lot of video games. There are video games, I guess, that are developed more, with a consensus, like a writer's room, like a lot of people. But I trust, like for movies and TV shows, sometimes I know that there was some complaints about this cult of one person that can make or save a project. And I'm not talking about one toxic person. I'm talking about one great person, creator, or leading other people. And I think that's great. Movies need that. And I think, yeah, totally, Michel is part of, this kind of people. Like it's really, he has a vision. And he's very precise in stuff. It's really funny to see him react strongly to things I don't even see sometimes. And seeing like, and all of this person, it's not like they're genius, like in a vacuum. All of these people are influenced, by other artists, other video games, other movie creators, but the capacity to just absorb his point of view and have a strong one, something you can identify. Just what you said, like you could recognize a Michel game, and I think that's the thing. Like people who play Lost Records and enjoyed it must have found, a lot of similarities, with Life is Strange. And I think I'd seen a tweet or a post on Blue Sky of someone saying like, "Oh, it has a lot of Life is Strange vibe," but not knowing, it was a Don't Nod or something like that. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's the case with Michel. And
That's
you want to say
Oh,
something?
sorry.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, okay. But remember what you were thinking. I'm going to just talk about the DNA. I don't. So it's kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
hard question because there was the launch of Don't Know. It was 5 years with a lot of people, from different French studios that worked together. That there was the intention for this first game to be very advanced technical, on the technical aspects. We had Seb Lagarde, a great guy who worked, on the PBR, who pushed like the PS3. We had a great looking game, and there was this art and narrative intention with Alain Damasio, Stéphane Beauverger, Alexis Briclot, and Michel. We had all this intention. The result was not perfect, but there was great things in it. And from this, like we seen two teams. Like basically, this is what happened at Downtown. You had the What If that became Life is Strange team, with Raoul, Michel, a lot of other great people, Jean-Luc who worked on this project, and also another DNA. There was Philippe Moreau, who was game director on Vampire, who was like a lead game designer on Remember Me, Stéphane Beauverger, who was the in charge of the writing of Remember Me, was in charge of Vampire, and it was kind of two branches. There was the action RPG, and you've seen Vampire, Banishers, and a project I cannot name. This team is working on this kind of game, and the Life is Strange team work on Life is Strange 1, Life is Strange 2, and the core of this team moved to Montreal, to create Lost Records. And you can see, I would say, it depends on the people. We have great people. I don't know, whether it's Paris in Montreal. You've seen Jusant. I love this game. It was one of our favorite games last year. And, Edouard, his art style is quite unique. He brought it. Mathieu and Kevin, the co-game director, Mathieu had a huge impact on the cinematics of Life is Strange. So the people shared some common history and DNA. And even, Tell Me Why, a lot of people associate this with Don't Nod, but there was little overlap of the two projects. It could have been a project from another studio because the, Affilion's creative director, Florent, was, in charge of the creative part of Tell Me Why. Stéphane Beauverger participated on the story. Dimitri was a producer on this project. And people saw some common aspects between Life is Strange and Tell Me Why, but it was made by really two different teams with little overlap. But I guess there was some ground, some some culture that that created something that people will recognize. But what keeps being a Don't Know game or not, despite some editorial choices, it's hard to say where it comes from. Maybe Michel, you have also comments about that.
No, I think it's a good answer for, I mean, definitely at Don't Nod Montreal, we are continuing to push this DNA, and also just because I think that's where we are quite good at, and even just myself, that's the kind of game I want to continue to do, to tell stories, to focus on characters, character development, I love story choice based game basically, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to do that and find an audience for it. But that makes me segue to go back to what you were saying about the author and the author aspect of making games or any artistic product, I would say. I find myself very lucky to be in this position, to be honest. And I know that as when I'm playing other games or movies or TV shows, the one I prefer are the one who are having a strong vision. And you can find flaws in those visions, but when there is a strong vision that is followed from the beginning to ending, at least for me, I really accept the thing I don't like because it makes sense when it's very cohesive and it has a strong beginning, ending, a strong vision that's very followed, which is completely the opposite of when you see movies or TV shows or games where you know that it has been designed by a committee and that it's basically so many things together that doesn't make any more sense, and there is not a strong common link. And I feel like there is unfortunately a lot of creation that are created today that are done like that by, I guess, networks or higher executive who just say, oh, you should have that, and you playtest a lot, and then you adjust your vision to adapt to a playtest. I don't know. Sometimes it works, and I'm pretty sure that it sells. But I feel like in the end, we are still losing a lot of something. Because when I will go see a movie, I want to be surprised.
Yes.
And I'm never surprised by things that are done by a committee, because it's basically everything that has worked in the previous 2 or 3 or 4 years that is just rehashed together.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will continue to do it this way. And like I said, I'm quite lucky to be in this position. But even when working on games in the past, when I was a concept artist or working on games from other directors, the way I see it was really how do we create and follow to, the vision of someone? Because that's in the end, if we help to shape the vision of someone, you have something that's cohesive, which I think is better, even if it has flaws. It's better than something that's a mess or an agglomerate of other things.
I was going to ask a follow-up question now, and this is going into Lost Records, the game that we're all here for. So we talk about Life is Strange, and we talk about movies now. I even think about music now. Like right now, like as someone who does music, releases music, everything is so TikTokification, right? Like it all has to do with that 1 15-second clip versus like a big single or a big album. I think about that all the time, even just in the 10-year span. For both of you, Luc and Michel, in the past 10 years since Life is Strange 1 and Lost Records, right? This is essentially the same genre of game, a very story-driven game. It's very chapter-focused, has to deal with deep dialogue connections, right? In a span of 10 years, how have you seen the market in video games change from like its deep understanding of characters and today where you said that like a lot of games are made by committees? Like what do you think that driving point was in the past 10 years to change that perspective?
I think this is a tough one because definitely things have changed a lot in those past 10 years. I feel like there is the way of consuming entertainment. Like when we released the first Life is Strange, it was, I don't think either Spotify or there was no Game Pass. There was no game by when you pay a subscription to play any games at the for just one subscription. It was barely the beginning of, I would say, I don't know the dates exactly, but I think it was barely the beginning of Spotify and some things by subscription. But you were still buying content that you feel like this one is for me and I want to spend money to this content and play it. Now it's way different. I mean, people are used to just spend their subscription and get access to a lot of everything. And then like you were saying, the TikTok version of music, but that's the same for video and games. If the first 3-5 seconds of your trailer or even your game, of your movie or your book are not catching your attention, you just swipe and go to the next content. So this part is way harder. And I feel like we still have a very strong fan base that loves the kind of games we're making, but it's harder to get attention. And because there is so many content, just a number of games. When we released Life is Strange, there was like, I would say around 1,500 game released on Steam this year.
Not even that much.
Yes.
So something like 1,500 in 2015, and in 2025 it's almost 20,000 games released on Steam the same year. So there is an overabundance of content. So people can completely tailor what they're playing, what they're looking, what they're viewing. You see that also for movies. Just some movies that are the number of revenue from movies in the movie theaters are of course way down, not only because the designed by committee or whatever, but just also because there is so many content that people don't know where to look at. So yeah, this part is harder. So I think there is a lot of things we need also to adjust, like how do we talk to our audience? How do we make sure that we, reduce the costs of the games we are making, how we are targeting our niche in a way that, we cannot spend as much as we did on some previous games, because I think the niche will be harder to make sure that we target, because there is so many things for them to do. And even more in games, if you see the revenue, so much of the revenue for games are spent into only one live service game, like people who are playing, Fortnite. They play Fortnite and they pay for the Fortnite skins and they almost don't buy anything else. People who play Roblox, that's the same thing. People who play World of Warcraft, that's mostly the only game they buy and consume. So yeah, it's harder for sure.
Yeah. No,
I can only hope for Swann Holloway Fortnite skin. I'm just saying that now. There's a market for that.
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
if you can hear us, just contact them.
So I kind of have a question, because you mentioned Game Pass. I always get on my block about Spotify, online and on my personal groups. I have a big gripe against Spotify, and yet I still release my music on Spotify regardless of how I feel about it. You don't have to go into specific details, but the way I think about music in that way is that I put my music out on Bandcamp, and I hope people will purchase it on Bandcamp. However, there is a lot of not pushback, but a lot of hesitation because of Spotify, because of Apple Music. Like the last album I put out, it was Name Your Price, and I said it's totally okay if you download for free, if you buy it for $1, and even then, just $1, it's like buying your music. Ugh. So they'll go to Spotify instead rather than this, and Spotify's payout is garbage. But talking about the ethics of putting out a game on you put it out on PlayStation Extra, right? Again, we're not talking about details, we're not trying to start any fires here, but talking about your ethics of the way you think about is it better to put it on PlayStation Extra rather than rely on just releasing physical, just releasing it just as is? What's the ethics behind that?
So I would say as creators, one of the goals for us is to allow the biggest number of people to play the game.
Totally.
That's what you want. You want people to play your game, have access, everything that can help that is good. But also as a company, we have to make enough money to be able to create other games. So it's not just a question about people accessing it, but receiving enough money. And this kind of deal sometimes will help, having some more visibility, some guaranteed revenue, this kind of stuff. And that's why if we want to continue to make game, there are some, there are some decisions we have to make, and being on these kind of services is a way of helping the revenue.
And it's just where the player are. I mean, they are using that, and the way of consuming entertainment has changed. And I don't think we have any say on if we like it or not. It's just that you have still to put your game where the players are, because like Luc said, as creators, in the end, we need to have revenue to pay for the studio and the employees and everybody to making the game. But the goal is still to have players play your game. In a vacuum, if we were exceptionally rich, it would be okay also to just release our game for free because we want players to play it.
Yes.
So in a way, having our game on Game Pass, on PlayStation Plus, on subscription model, it's a way today to reach players. Just that we need to make sure that the balance is working so we can continue to make those games. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, and like you should say, again, I was saying the market is so complex. I used to follow, I play mostly on PlayStation. I used to follow, the every release. I knew like the next month was going to be out. Now I open my PlayStation, I see the PS Store, and I'm lost. There's too many cool games. Oh,
yes.
this new game from this studio I like, and this one. You don't have time for this amount of content. Even the TV shows, you have all these subscription services. I've seen like TV shows I like releasing a second season. Didn't have the time to watch it because I was just watching other stuff, and it's canceled because not enough people
Yeah,
have watched
because
it.
you
Like the
didn't
first couple of
watch.
months. Yes,
It's cancelled because of you, because you didn't watch this first season.
Yes.
we know like people want content. The fact people don't play for it, I don't know you, but if I don't pay, I'm less inclined, to play. I remember, when I had my the first PlayStation, I was buying games, and someone put like a chip on it to be able to, to play games for free, and then I had tons of games, and I wouldn't play anything. I would like launch, a driving game. I do the first turn. I go. I miss my turn. Okay, I've never played it anymore. And the fact we don't pay, we have access to so much content is like a weird place right now. And everyone, is scared. Like small studios, even if you have indies that shine and sells millions, a lot don't sell. You have like these big AAA. It used to be like you will invest some money in the marketing in the game. You will know like you will have some audience. Now you have these huge games that fail, and that it's not sustainable. Like there is the market regulation. Michel say like make games in a less expensive way, reach your niche, like the audience will you finding ways to reach it. Like this is gonna be the only way to to continue and survive. You have a lot of great creators, but there's too much content right now.
No, it's
and scarcity would be much better. I mean, scarcity of content is better because that's where you're so happy. I mean, when we were a kid, it was just a new game being released. There was not so many games. So when there was a new game you wanted, it was so good. You really enjoyed it. But now you have so many, like you said, Luc, I had my Game Pass subscription at a point and I realized that I was barely playing any game because I was just like looking, oh, cool, I could play this, and I was not playing them. So actually buying a game makes you more happy to play it, but there is so much content that it's getting harder to even be happy for that. So, but I don't think we will go back to scarcity of content before a long time, but it could be better sometimes when there is slightly less availability. You cherish much more what you can get.
So
no, it's go for it.
No, I was just going to say because
okay, yeah.
No, 'cause I was going to say we've been on it for a while, and ironically as well, when Michel, when you said as well, like you picked games back in the day and they were limited, they're even remaking those games now as well, so they're coming back onto the market and you're competing with them. But I know we could go down like a rabbit hole, so I'm just going to move it away from that for the moment and move it into Lost Records for the moment, because I did get one question from Patreon here, and it's from Carly. So just bear with me this as well. It's a good starting point. So thank you for your time, Michel and Luc. I owe so much to you for both influencing my growth as an analog photographer, and I love Lost Records Blue and Rage. My question for you both: what's an interesting story idea from Lost Records Blue and Rage's inception that ultimately didn't make the final product? Kick things off
of that. Trying to think if there are things that definitely are not as pushed as we wanted in the game. Like I think with more time, or I don't know what's more, but the thing that we didn't push as much as what we really wanted was, the idea of how the choice you make in the present timeline change more things in the past, like as you're redefining the past. Like we do that with the cat color or some more flavorful things. But at the beginning of the game, of the project, the idea was really to push that much more with more branching, where how you were recollecting your past during the reunion evening in the bar would change more things during the summer of 95. So it's still there in the game. It's still in a form that's a bit less ambitious than what we wanted first. I know that in the very early stage of the project, we are thinking, oh, it could be cool to feature more skateboard scenes.
Yes.
And I mean, skateboard is part of the visual, but it's
Oh yeah.
definitely on the side with animation. And even we were thinking, should we have even a small skateboard mini game at a point where just moving places? But it was quickly cut because we are saying that we
Yeah.
will never have the capacity and budget to do that well.
Mm.
But it was on
Would
our
have made someone happy.
ideas. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I know what. Yeah.
I don't know if there
Yeah,
are
that's
other things like that.
no, but that's the main I remember, like the one you told, and this impact of one timeline to another. I think the focus was then more on the story, what we needed to ship and make sure the story works, rather
Yeah.
than this satellite stuff that we will have added more if
Oh,
more.
a thing I
And
can say is that at first we were really planning to showcase Cat's parents, to have them be present in the game. But then same thing for animations, voice acting, timing, and also for the storytelling, I think it works the way we did it. That's how we put them out of the picture, just talked about them, and basically replaced most of the scenes where we wanted also to showcase the parents by reusing Dylan and Corey as kind of the pawns of the parent figures, like the other more older characters who were still bothering the summer of the girls. So they're still present in the backstory, but we don't see them at all. Where it was planned at first to have them present at the concert at the end of tape 1 and see a bit more of them in tape 2.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
recall as well some aspect of the camcorder as well to have more impact directly on the.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the camcorder feature, I'm really happy with what we have in the game, but we wanted to use it a bit more in some of the gameplay parts, like having more investigations where you had to zoom in to see something that you can only see with the zoom and recollect later, or something where you need to have filmed elements that you show to another character later. We did that a bit with with the scene with Autumn in tape 2, where you can show her some video from tape 1 to calm her. But it was slightly underutilized, underused. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it sounds like to me every time, like every time you two talk about this game, you're talking about like some nitpicking things, like, oh, I wish this could have been in it. I wish that. Ultimately, though, it sounds like the entire team, you're very proud of what this game is 100% of the time. Like you were proud of Life is Strange, you were proud of Life is Strange 2. It seems like you put out your products that you're proud of, and not just like, oh, it's good enough. You're very happy with what you do.
I think it's a mix of both,
I would
because I
say,
know that
yeah,
we would still, like, if we could have each time few months more, just to
Yeah.
polish and do exactly. That's the thing. I think we're still happy with what is out, even with the default. It's not like we are blind to the default, the thing that could work better, the things that could be more polished. We know there are defaults, but we still, I think on my end, on my part, I'm really proud of the team's achievement on a lot of topics. And the fact that it's different, from other games, there are some originality, so a unique touch. I think that really makes it important. It's not generic. It's something that has a strong identity, and I think that's what I'm proud of. I don't consider this, perfect games without.
yeah. No, not at all. I think of course, we are really proud of releasing a game is already a miracle in itself. And I think that we released games where the end product is still very close to the original vision. But of course, there are flaws and there are things that are not up to what we wanted. For example, in Lost Record, I think that in tape 2, there is some moments where we had to go too fast and reduce some of the content. So it's a bit packed. There, we really wanted to have a few more scenes with Corey to have a slightly better character arc to come to the end where he's possessed and showcase more of his violence with the Abyss. And I feel like he's slightly too quickly going to this direction. We could have fleshed him out a bit more. There is a few things that definitely, if we could have done better, we would have loved to try to do better. But in the end, we're still, yes, very proud of the end product, and seeing the reaction of the players is showing that the important things work, like the characters, the dynamic of the group, how you get attached to those characters. This worked really well, and for me, this is the most important.
Hmm.
And do you know what
Okay.
people appreciate online? Because we always see a couple of comments saying they're still updating the game and they've changed the license plates to make it reflective of what's
Yes.
happened in that area. So it's like they love the accuracy of the games. And you see there's a lot of love in it. I think, me and Adam are spoiled because we speak to actors, we speak to developers, and we understand that you are a small team. I think people sometimes think there's like hundreds of you, and it's like you wish you had hundreds and you wish you could work with an unlimited budget, but it's not realistic expectations. And I'm going to move it a little bit into Lost Records a bit more and make it a bit more kind of personal here as well, because obviously I'm going to bring up a really influential figure for your studio, for a lot of people, which is David Lynch, especially for you, Michel, as well. Obviously, he passed away early this year. A lot of the Life is Strange team, the developers who worked on that, paid tribute to him. I'm just curious as well, when I mentioned David Lynch, you've talked about his influence on Life is Strange, on Lost Records. But I'm just curious, like, with this game, I know that there's other inspirations within Lost Records. Do you think that Lost Records is more closer to Twin Peaks than Life is Strange is for like more direct influence compared to Life is Strange as being? Because obviously people see Rachel Amber and they see Laura Palmer, but like
Hmm.
I asked Adam that, and Adam's first response was, yes, I think Lost Records is a lot closer to Twin Peaks than Life is Strange is.
I think it is a bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like when we work on the story we worked on with Jean-Luc Cano, we've always got we have our favorite inspirations. There is Twin Peaks, there is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there is some part of X-Files, a lot of those TV shows from just before the golden age of TV show, but I would call it myself the first golden age with
Yes.
before The Soprano, before all the more modern TV show that really created TV show from HBO. But those TV show before, like Twin Peaks, X-Files, Buffy, there was a lot of great storytelling that started to emerge at this time, and it was always some of those that really inspired us. And I think that in Life is Strange is more close as a more teenage drama aspect that is a bit closer to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And in Lost Records there is a lot of our own ideas in it, but there is, I think, where we wanted to have a bit more a Twin Peaks vibe for the setting, for the small town. With we used a lot the word liminal spaces when we were working on this game to recreate this feeling of you're part of a town, Velvet Cove, but we don't want to really draw a map of Velvet Cove, what it is, where it is. It's more spaces that are linked to each other, kind of the tone of Twin Peaks. And I feel like the music inspiration, the way we worked on the music for Lost Record is more closer to, let's say, the inspiration of what David Lynch did for Twin Peaks or his movies.
Yeah.
We are less folk music, independent folk music that we were for Life is Strange, and more this kind of indie dream pop vibey soundscape. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like for me, what I love with the work with David Lynch is I feel like he was a visionary and a filmmaker where what he managed always to showcase some of the darkest part of human nature, but in a very poetic, dreamy way. In a part, it was never vulgar or never for the shock value. It was more like just this is what part of human nature can be. And if you look at Twin Peaks is really a TV show about the violence from men against women. And especially if you look at the movie Fire Walk With Me, which is very, very dark, but it's really about that. And we did that a bit from this inspiration, of course, with what happened in Life is Strange with Jefferson and Rachel Amber. But we also kind of wanted to give this feeling in Lost Records with the vibe from the wood, with the abyss, with Corey, with what's happening around those characters, how we could be drawn to some kind of darkness, but with a dreamy vibe. So yeah, I feel like there was his work, of course, was always present in the back of our mind, and we try to get inspired by it, not copy directly, of course, but just how we kind of get the same kind of creative vibe.
And just kind of springboard off that as well, and this is for you as well, Luc, as well, so I'd love to hear your input as well. Obviously, criticism has come for Lost Records, and I think you're aware of that in terms of how people say things. And I'm not necessarily going to talk about the pacing because you have talked about that, but Michel, you've responded to Nicefield on Twitter when they were asking about, certain plot points where some people say that some things aren't explained, the abyss is a mystery, and you spoke about there's a very fine line of like doing supernatural stuff. If you go too much into it, you explain things. Me and Adam have sat here on podcasts defending on certain things that you've done, but I'm just curious as well, like when you hear the criticism, do you feel like maybe it's a byproduct of the influences you have? Obviously Stephen King is an influence, David Lynch's influence. I know Stephen King gets criticism because people are like, why is 11/22/63? Why is he walk into a freezer and go back in time? And it's never really explained. And he does that with the story. Do you think that that kind of has a bit of a byproduct effect on how you do storytelling, where you do leave the mysterious just to kind of the imagination?
It's
I
really
think it is.
it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's a question of personal taste. I know that Michel enjoys this part of of stories, and I love this too. And I know like friends who are very frustrated at the end of the
Hate that.
show where there's an open ending, and it's really a strong feeling, and it's like dividing people into categories. I personally love that, and usually there are more frustration where things are explained because it doesn't leave any room to something bigger than just stuff you already know. Right? There's no more mystery, no more unknown. I don't like that. And I remember, like, I don't know if this is something I can say, but strong discussion with Square Enix regarding, when we were working on the Life is Strange franchise, like, where does the power comes from? Okay, they wanted as a publisher no more because the IP was theirs, like, no more about the origin of Max's power and all this kind of stuff. And it was really difficult because as soon as you explain stuff, you lose. I think you lose too much, and to me, it's dangerous. So I think, like you said, it's a byproduct of creative choice, made by Michel and Luc. I will never push them, to change any of that because I think it's a strength. And if that doesn't please people, I don't think we can do much about that.
It's a really tough one because I know that sometimes we're in the minority with that. And one of my more recent but favorite TV show is The Leftovers from the creator of Lost. And if you watch The Leftovers, for me the ending of season 3 of The Leftovers is the best ending of a TV show, at least for me, I would say ever. And I've seen so many people criticizing this ending, saying like, but what really happened? I don't know. And yeah, for me, if they explain something, so I don't want to spoil it if you didn't watch it, but if you watch the TV show, if you watch the ending, I would love to hear what you think about it. But it was for me the perfect way to end with characters and not giving a definitive answer, but give an answer from the point of view of the characters, which I think is perfect for the theme of the series, for the character arcs. And yeah, reading online forums, I've seen so many people hating this ending, and I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
The way I always think about it, just when you even brought it up, like it's not necessarily copying David Lynch, but the way I've always seen like my creative output, I am stained by the people that have made me the person I am today. Great example in terms of musical composition. Marty O'Donnell has stained me. Like I can't go back. The second I heard Halos, like the first Halo, especially Halo 2, there's an impact where you take in the content and you enjoy it, but then there's the content that has stained you. And I feel like David Lynch has stained you in a good way. And there's going to be creators coming after you, Michel, that have been stained by you. And there will be times where like, man, I'm putting out things like Michel does. I will also make floating girls in a cabin. It doesn't matter.
Ironically, to interject as well, I think that has already been seen. For example, if people don't know, Luc is credited in Lowbirth Games as This Bed We Made, and they obviously took big inspiration from Life is Strange, so the knock-on effect has already happened quickly.
Yeah, we visited
really
them
cool
last week, actually. It was fun.
Yeah.
Like, I organized a visit of their studio. They are not far from here in Montreal, and they're a small, fantastic team. And yeah,
It's really cool.
Life is Strange was part of their influence. I really loved playing, This Bed We Made, a great game. I recommend it to people. And yeah, but you after the first Life is Strange, it was huge. Like, usually when you pitch a project to publishers, you put some example of the game that influenced your game, and it's crazy to see how many pitches had Life is Strange among the 2 or 3 games people recommend after that. We know that it had such an impact. Yeah, we've been lucky to be, like you said, part of this flow of people influencing other, for sure. Yeah.
And also as well, like just kind of I would say as well, like when you hide things as well, like the famous example is Thomas Harris revealing Hannibal Lecter's origin stories, and so sometimes things are better to be kept hidden and some things are better to be explained. I'm going to go into a Patreon question here because I think it's quite interesting. And Luke, this is directly aimed at you. So this is from Kevin Kestis, and they put for Luc Baghadoust, Lost Records feels like it has echoes of Life is Strange, but also its own vibe. How do you approach making something familiar yet fresh? What do you hope players take away emotionally from Lost Records? And without spoilers, can you share if Lost Record is meant to expand into a large universe like Life is Strange did?
All right. So the first part is directed to me, but I think it's more, for Michel, like creating, like basically creating this new game. After there was Life is Strange 1, that and Life is Strange 2. Basically, we had like carte blanche. I don't know what's the way to say it in English, but basically, there was few links, between Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2. But Michel, Raoul, and Jean-Luc were not like they could do basically almost everything they wanted. They submitted, of course, the idea to Square Enix, who loved it, and the game was made. But basically, that was the same. After Michel finishing and and Jean-Luc after after Life is Strange 2 decided to work on this new game. It's not like, okay, like they knew they wanted to make a game, with great character, what kind of story they wanted to make. If it was, everything was going well and Square Enix was working with us, it could have been, part of a Life is Strange universe, because it's not a recipe. It's just an intention of telling a story, character, what will be the game, how quickly you want to think about the mechanics that will we going with that, the back and forth between two timelines, all this stuff that I think, Michel, you speak a lot in interviews, about that. So what was great for us is to know that this was our own IP. Like, there was, of course, a part of frustration. Like, it's great to have the backup of a big publisher like Square Enix, with whom we did fantastic things. But here, like, the way to make new things, like the bricks, the initial bricks, blocks of a new universe, new IP with new ideas. There's ton of things that could be done with this universe, and it's great for us to to own that, to not be dependent on other with that. So that's the biggest thing. And what what I would like people to enjoy, with this game, is like just finding again what they enjoyed with the previous Life is Strange game, a very specific pacing. Like, I know there's a lot of dark stuff, and this is part of, I think, what attract people to this game, but also a lot of joyful moments. You have Life is Strange 2 has very grave topics, but you also have like a lot of fun moments, like human moment. And it's like life, you have this great moment, this bad moment, and not at a pacing you can expect, because it's made, like Michel was saying, by a committee who wants you to feel this at this moment. It's a story created with a lot of honesty, by people who want to do, like, Michel is not doing a Lost Record or the other games because it's a job. Like, it's something he wants to do. It's something that he wants to do, and hey, it's a job at the same time, which is good. It's not like
Which
it's
is
my
cool.
job. Okay, what's my job again? I have to make a game. Okay, it has to sell. It has to include this or that. No, it's an artistic approach. It's intention. I want to make a game, a great game, and what I want to people to feel is that the same thing with music and movies, like seeing something that's made by someone who cares about the final result. That would be it.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
lovely.
Luc. I think that's a perfect answer. I don't think I have much to add. Just I think you had the question like, what was the plan for going more into
Expanded
the
universe.
universe or so?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so since it was our IP, we had the chance to really think from the ground. Like I said all the time, it's still a full game. Like, even if there is an open-ended, we still think that we are telling at least one cohesive story, where we talk about those women nowadays who are recollecting their memories and finding themselves again. And you, as a player, you decide of what was their bond, what was their link, who they are today, who they were before. But we had the opportunity to create that from the ground. So we created the Abyss, we have the town of Velvet Cove, we have those characters, and we have, of course, hints to where we could go in the future, like where exactly is Kat, where exactly is Swann going? Will they meet again? Will they find each other? Will they be separated? A lot of questions that hopefully we can possibly come back. But we have ideas. Like, the way we were working with Jean-Luc is that when we were writing that, we already know kind of how Stephen King is working on his books, even when it's open ending. He has still a plan. What he did with the Dark Tower, with the characters that are coming back inside the world of the Dark Tower, outside of the world in our or reality here. There are a lot of interesting ways he's working on his thread, and we kind of worked it the same way. So when, for example, you have hints into the hideout of those letters from the miner, of how the knife is getting stuck to the wooden beam with the node that helps you for the puzzle, we know how to explain that if we go to make a game that takes place at the side story to explain it, or we still have notes on what's happening and why it is that. So except when we make mistakes, because we can make mistakes. I think there was a mistake in the package of something that I don't remember what, but we had the player find that. But most of the things, of the links, of the reasons why things are inside the package, or what things you can read in the hideout, they are already thought out to be able to be explained in another project or not, or just that at least we know where we are, and we wanted to make sure that everything that you see can make sense if we explain it.
I hope you enjoyed Side A. That is Side A done. Stay tuned. Side B is coming. As I said, this was a 2-hour long podcast, almost 2 hour long. It's coming down with the cuts and stuff, but it's an almost 2 hour long podcast, and we decided to split up into 2 parts. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you are new here, please do subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends. We're almost at 2,100 subscribers. We have over 180 followers on Spotify for the Lost Records Journal. The Lost Records Journal is available on Spotify with a video version with 39 5-star ratings. We're available on Apple Podcasts. Go and check us out over there on RSS feeds. And obviously, stay tuned. Side B will be coming very soon, among many other things that we're currently doing. But we hope you enjoyed the interview. And as I said in the introduction as well, we will be putting the full version out in one full length if you do want to watch it then. But yeah, stay tuned for Side B. It's very exciting. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.
Tight.